Hello, my name is Brianna, and this is the Mama Knows Now podcast. We like to discuss the everyday superhero parent because we're all just figuring it out day by day and doing our best because parenting doesn't come with a manual. So today I have my dear friend, Kimberly, and we're going to talk about what it's like to not want to be moms because neither of us really wanted to be a mom, and somehow we both are. So as exciting as that is, I just think it's kind of important to talk about what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not every woman wants to be a mom or has that dream to get married, and sometimes it's fun to hear it from my voice, but I think it's even cooler to have someone else's perspective come in. So on that note, let's talk about first before this beautiful little baby of yours came along, this handsome husband of yours. When did you know that you were going to marry him?
In short, when he asked me. But in all seriousness, I wasn't that kid growing up who ever had these romantic ideals about a beautiful wedding ceremony and wanting to wear a ring. Literally, this is the only piece of jewelry I wear. So not interested in it for many reasons as a kid. My parents weren't these idols to look up to either in a marriage. I had some great friends who had wonderful parents. I had amazing relationships with one another. So it looked like it was possibly really nice to have. But I was never stuck on the idea of being married. I was completely and utterly content with just kicking it solo or having like a life partner, but never making it official in any way. And it was never like a religious thing for me either. So didn't really see the point.
And so then this guy comes in your life and he ruins everything, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, G-Dog. We appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, we were in like a very romantic setting. We had, packed our backpacks and set off to travel for a year. And we were on a 5-day backpacking adventure in Patagonia. And Grant just saw this opportunity to hop up on a rock and asked me to marry him with this little tiny plastic ring that these little girls in the local village had made that I thought I had lost, but clearly he had pocketed it for a better purpose. So
resourceful, that guy. Mm-hmm. Keeping it like low key too.
Yeah.
So I know that you had not really, even after marriage, really wanted to procreate, and you talked about, in personal conversations about what that means, like bringing human into the world, and how, is that really for you? Is that really for me? And we're both like, no. So when did you, I don't want to say change your mind, but I would say like open yourself up to like what could be? Like, was there like a thing that you guys discussed, or was it more like, I could do this, or, what was that like pivot for you? What was that like?
Well, I guess I have a lot to say about that. Sort of in the same boat as marriage. I was completely on the fence, and I was just, if I ever have kids, cool, but it's not anything that I have this strong urge to do. Perhaps that makes me potentially a better adoptive parent, which is still on the table for us. But I don't know. I was totally content living life, just having to worry about myself and picking up and traveling whenever I wanted to go anywhere. And now I was in this awesome relationship with someone who had always thought that he wanted kids for, his entire life. His parents are incredible, wonderful people, and he just wanted to replicate the little life that he had growing up. And that didn't sway me, to be honest. I was like, that's really sweet, but nah. And then I kind of came to the point of like, well, now I'm in my 30s, so I guess I really actually only have so much time to do this. I have no idea if I can get pregnant. Never tested it, thankfully. So, shit, I guess we're gonna just pull the goalie and see what happens. And then there's a baby. So that's kind of when I made the decision that I was okay with kids. Was like, oh, I'm pregnant. There's a couple ways out of this, but I guess I'm just gonna go
Just see what happens.
Yeah. That seems really horrible. Maybe don't tell Miles that when he grows up, but
yeah. So just make sure this podcast is archived.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we have a lot of friends and family members where having a family was exceptionally challenging for them, and like we didn't have any real reason to be concerned about that, but at the same time it was like, I guess you never know until you try. And so we feel exceptionally fortunate that we were able to have a very healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby. And in the end, he's just like the most amazing little guy. I could just gush about him all day, but now you have him, there's no going back, right? Like, you can't imagine your life without him anymore.
There's no
yeah.
It's interesting that happens too, because I feel the same way. Like, there's definitely days with Declan where I'm like, go away. Stop.
Yeah.
And then
I kept my job.
And then, but
I can't imagine being like a full-time mama all the time. I think that would be really challenging to like never have a break mentally. So.
Oh.
Grandma's only a mile away, thankfully.
Hey, Grandma.
Mm-hmm.
How has motherhood changed you?
I have to say I'm probably a lot more selfless in a lot more ways than I would recognize otherwise. I always really enjoyed like my sleep. I was never a schedule person. Don't like being yelled at, but all of those things go out the window rather quickly. So I've definitely found myself becoming far more patient, understanding, compassionate, just to like all humans and not just mine. Even though there's maybe too many of us on the planet, I like still like a person had to go through so much in order for that person to exist. Like, I don't know, the whole experience of creating a life is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's weird to think that came out of people.
Yeah.
You're just like, whoa. And then when they reflect you, when they're like your little mirror, and you're like, oh, fuck, like that's, oh gosh. And you can't and so much of that is like DNA. Like there are certain faces that Declan makes, and there are certain behaviors that he has that I'm like, oh, that is ingrained in his DNA. I cannot change it. Try though I may. He's got this fiery temper, and it's like, well, who do you get that from, mom or dad? Like, flip a coin, because it's both of us. and then you have to be the bigger person, and you have to like find that space to like be the adult. And some days it is not easy to be the adult. Like,
yeah,
excuse me.
I can only imagine it gets worse. Miles is only 17 months old, and so there's only so many tantrums in a day, luckily. But as he gets older, they're definitely becoming a bit more frequent.
Yeah, I think it all depends on the kid too. I think for us, Declan had a lot of space to be independent. I think that helped him. But now he's very assertive of the choice that he wants to make. And if he doesn't like the options, because we're very much like, you can do A, B, and sometimes we give a C. And if he doesn't like those options, it's game over. But go talk to me in another 10 months and we'll see.
Exactly.
Because that could be really fun for you. I don't know. You and Grant have really even dispositions, but I mean, a toddler is still a toddler.
And it's nice to be able to tag team.
Oh.
You're like, I need to take a breath and a walk around the block. You got this? Great.
And to have that open communication to do that, that's awesome too. Because sometimes it's like, are you hearing me?
Yeah.
I've got a bloody call.
Hey, speaking of, my husband heard me and brought me wine.
Aww.
Thank you. That's so nice of you.
You don't like that, do you?
No,
I'm going to drink whatever you brought me.
I've got to go and when you're done, I've got to go and get some more.
Okay. Okay.
He's watching Oxynauts.
Okay.
He's fine.
Okay.
I did the whole thing while on the call as well.
You're so good. Gold star, baby. Gold star.
Can you convince my husband to bring me some wine?
No,
Snapping
right?
him. Yeah.
That never happened. I texted him 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, what do you like about your role as a mother?
I really find joy in a lot of the smaller things in life now, like going to the train museum. It's kind of nice to have an excuse to like do all the things, because you feel like the total fucking creep when you do it as an adult without a kid. But when you go with a baby, it's like you can be as into it as you damn well please. It is fantastic. So like going to the, I don't know, even the like museums and stuff like that, which is extraordinarily limited these days. But it's just nice to kind of like, oh, the butterfly pavilion. Just get a little warm thinking about it. But also just seeing like your little progeny happy is about the greatest thing in the world too, you know? Like you give that kid just a pair of keys and he's in heaven for 3 hours. It's fantastic. All the little things.
I wish Declan had that. The attention span of that. That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
What's your biggest struggle with motherhood?
Feeling kind of constrained and then having to establish a routine, probably. I really did not. I'm still absolutely horrid at having a routine. I wake up at a different time every day. I don't ever do the same thing every morning. But things just kind of unravel and go to hell without one. And that's been really challenging. It's also hard to kind of balance your life because you want time with your husband and you want time with your friends and you want time like with your baby as a mom, but you only have so much time in the day and you're just exhausted at the end. I also would just love to be able to have the urge to go for a jog and do it, but you can't unless you bring a stroller and like prepare, you know, you have to take like an hour to get out the door every time you go anywhere. So it's like a lot of effort to make things happen.
The snacks. They did the snacks just in case in the diaper bag because you know something's going to explode. And then heaven forbid, like I have a jogging tool I think I've used like 10 times and I love to run, but it's the, like what you're saying, the process of it all is more exhausting. And now Declan's potty trained, which is amazing. It's a game changer. But, you know, I thought this was me. You tell me your thought here. I used to hate running errands because I hated having to get him in and out of the car. So even though like we lived in the city and if so many of the errands were like 20, 30 minutes away and then you had to like have the diaper change and it's like.
And plan with the nap.
Yeah, and then heaven forbid you leave that 30 minutes too early or 30 minutes late and the kid falls asleep at a different hour and then doesn't go back to sleep and then you're like, well, fuck that. My day is shot to hell because I tried to be productive.
Yeah.
So for me, I would stay home a lot or not do anything or not get errands done or hire sitters so I could run errands because I felt like I was jeopardizing this routine that you're talking about. Like I would mess up his routine or I would, and then I would pay for it later. Like if he didn't nap, bedtime would be a disaster. Or if he didn't nap, I would have to wake him up. And then you're like, well, now what do I do? Because, and it's such like, oh, that's a terrible problem to have. Like if that's the hardest problem of my day, like how lucky am I? But also like as a first time mom, you're like, you don't want to like get it wrong per se, and there is no wrong in motherhood, and I think that's the misconception. But equally, you also know, like, and at this time, my husband was traveling all over the place all of the time, and so it was just me. And you're like, if I don't get this break from my kid, I might lose it. So I don't want to jeopardize that. So that's my experience. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, like, don't fuck this up for me. You know?
Oh yeah. Like I need to like go run, you know,
that's always fun.
Errands and go places and take care of things. But like, you know, nowadays you can do most everything online, which just makes you feel even more mundane because you're just at home on the computer doing garbage when, I don't know. It is hard to like the nap schedule and that routine has been really challenging because at first the baby's just asleep all the time and you can go wherever you want and you get kind of adjusted to like the flexibility of just having a super sleepy head on your hands. And then it's like they're getting picky in particular about where they're going to nap and how they're going to nap and whatever. So then you have your 2 like 1.5 hour naps a day and you kind of get in that routine, but you can't get shit done in an hour and a half. And by the time you're like trying to get into something, they're awake. And now we're on like a 3-hour nap, but that's from 11 to 2, you know? So you got to be out like you have from 7 or 8 to 11, really 8 until like when they're done eating and dressed and all that. And then, you know, in the winter, you only have until like 4:45, 5 to be outside or do anything before it's dark and freezing. Doesn't give you much time for anything. But overall, he's healthy and happy.
No, because then they're back in the house again. Then you're like, oh.
What?
What did you worry about before you became a mom? Like, do you have any specific things about becoming a mom that you were nervous of or scared of?
I was kind of overwhelmed by the idea of all the stuff. There's just so many things affiliated with babies and kids. Like, what diapers am I gonna have and what wipes? And do I need a wipe warmer? Or no, it grows mold. You don't want one of those. Like, there was just so many things. So I remember feeling kind of overwhelmed at the thought of like, how much stuff do we really need? And at the time we were living in a house that was 1,000 square feet. So I was like, okay, we have to plan really accordingly and literally only have the items that we actually care about. And we've since moved into a larger house, but I still feel that way. And I just remember feeling so overwhelmed by that. But now that we're like in it and we're using things, all of it makes more sense. And I am like readily getting rid of stuff when he's done with it. So that feels pretty nice too.
Did you ever get something you thought he would love and then never use it? Did you ever have that problem?
Yes, the Strider. We love riding our bikes, and he is just not.
The Strider, what's that? Oh no! Is that like the attachment on the bike?
It's the pedalless bike.
For him to
the
sit
Strider. It's a brand, but they make like the pedalless bikes for kids, the Specialized and other brands. But yeah,
yeah, we don't have one of those.
I'm not getting on that. Even though he loves going for bike rides with us, because we have one of the seats that attaches like to the front handlebars, and he'll ride on that all day long. But when it comes to riding his own bike, he's like, but maybe he'll come around to it. He's still pretty young, but hopeful.
We had, when Deck was little, we had like a swing, and I didn't buy anything until I knew what kind of baby he was. Because like you're saying, I was like, if I buy this and he doesn't want it, or I buy that and he doesn't like it, then I'm wasted on this money. And we bought like almost all of our stuff ourselves. So it was like, I don't want to spend $100 on that if it's going to be wasted. So anyway, he loved to be rocked, and I would stand in front of the window and rock him. And I was like, oh, we'll get him a swing. That kid wouldn't sit in that swing more than fucking 30 minutes. Really? You like to be like rocked and held, but you don't want to swing back? Like, I don't get it, buddy. It's the same goddamn
shit for babies, yeah.
Didn't like a bouncer, that didn't want to be bounced, didn't want to vibrate, none of that shit. It was held or nothing. So anyway, again, that's mine.
Yeah.
But
I feel like the only other thing I was kind of concerned about was like safety related stuff. Like making sure you really have CPR down and know what to do if they're choking, and have all the baby locks and gates, and like just, it's kind of like saving your child from yourself at the same time. Because like my mistakes, like I'm not gonna have the ability to put everything up and away, like I'm forgetful, I'm human, sometimes I don't sleep the whole night through. Just got to make sure that things are all squared away. But that stuff kind of concerned me, but that's more reasonable,
You used to be such a good sleeper.
I was. I have to sleep with earplugs every night, because if I hear like 1 decimal of a sound of that baby, I am wide awake. Sucks. But Every night. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's so sad. Oh my God, I don't have it that bad, so that's.
Yeah, I didn't know that like all of a sudden you develop supermom ears immediately after birth, but you do. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. Now the thing is for me though is like I'll just wait until he says mom or mommy, come to me, because otherwise I'm like, you gotta get yourself back down, kid.
You figure it out.
You can figure that
Later,
out.
yeah.
You figure that out.
Very
We actually bought a bigger bed because his toddler bed he wouldn't sleep in. He would come in our bed every night, and we are like, this cannot. So we just got like a $300 IKEA bed. We're like, sleep there, go. Like, stop
Get the
it.
race car one. Definitely sleeping.
Oh, we haven't gotten the race car one, but equally because we don't know what he's going to be into, and I don't want to like jinx it. Like, I mean, if he wants a pretty princess bed, then all right, whatever.
Fair.
More power to you, kid. What surprised you the most about being a mom that you weren't really expecting?
A few things physically come to mind first. I didn't realize how like impossibly famished and thirsty you are the second you birth your baby, and then the entire duration that you're breastfeeding. And I really don't think I felt normal until about 14 months. I went to physical therapy, did all the things, started exercising, but I was just like so hungry and so thirsty. I had no idea. But
How long did you breastfeed for?
about just shy of a year, but my supply started to plummet around like 7 months. But I was still like, we would supplement with a bottle here and there, but he was like getting onto some solids, and it's like a weird transition time.
Yeah.
And I just felt really tied down from the pump when I went back to work. I took 4 months off before I went back to work. And right after going back, like having to pump every 2 hours is so intense. And I mean, you're used to feeding your baby that frequently, but like you have to go, I don't know, and like having to fly somewhere and like find all the little breast milk or rooms or whatever. Like I just,
Sit in a bathroom.
there's just not that many, and you're like, I can't even tell you how many times I like pumped in the Costco parking lot or like at a park, and you're like, don't look like I don't have tinted windows, just a little odd. And then what do? Like you have to figure out what to do with the milk, and it only lasts so long, and I don't know. So I was surprised at just like the physical and like hormone. Like I know that your body's going through so much while you're pregnant, but like the coming down of it post-pregnancy was quite intense. I almost felt like it was worse than my pregnancy, which was kind of crazy. Yeah.
You're so built up during pregnancy of like, oh, you can do this, and you have all the support. And in Western medicine, it's very much about the baby after, you deliver.
Oh, yeah.
It's very much about that. And I think that's why people are talking about all this stuff about motherhood. Like I spoke to someone just last week about like the whole culture of self-care and how stupid it is, because you were human before you had kids. And this is just in general, like, you should just be doing what's right for you all the time. And when you're a parent, sometimes that is jeopardized by being a parent, because, especially small kids need you more than the older kids. You still need to take that time for you. And like as a mother, especially people who don't have resources around them or support around them, how do you support a mother who doesn't know what the fuck she's doing for the first time? Oh, and heaven forbid there's postpartum depression or anxiety, or, heaven forbid there's no complications. Like, like you gotta look at the whole being. And if the mother's not looked after, then how can she show up for this baby? Yeah, you can argue people have done it for centuries, but equally, like, there's so many things that we don't do as a culture that we could do. But okay.
Yeah,
What do I know? I'm just a mom.
just along for the ride.
What was the most useless information you got while you were pregnant?
Man, I pretty much hit the delete button. like at delivery.
I love that.
Like the one thing that stuck out to me the most, it's not like a ludicrous bit of like advice, but just questions. Like, while pregnant, why the hell are you asking me if I'm planning to have another one? Can I just get through this one? Just give me a minute. You know? That was the one thing that like pissed me off the most, that I got at least 3 or 4 times. Like, oh, you're pregnant, everything's going well, you guys gonna have another one? Like, just can we pause?
Can we do this
here
first?
and like just need a moment.
Do you get asked that a lot now? Because Miles is, you know, a year and a half, and people are like, oh, you're going to give him a sibling?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And my answer is wonderfully vague.
We'll see.
Keep it simple. I don't know. He's pretty good. Honestly, I feel like if I had another replicate baby of Miles, it would be pretty fun and awesome, but chances are they're going to be like a total dick, so...
I'm right there with you. I say that all the time. I'm like, Declan was such a beautiful pregnancy, and the whole experience was like fine. You know, even like our delivery, like you can't really complain about. So I don't want to ruin that.
Yeah, it's like, and also, you know, he's outnumbered 2 to 1. Odds are in my favor currently. I'm all about that. I don't know. One's pretty good. One's pretty good. My body. I also feel like I used one of my lives while birthing him. Don't know if I want to use another one. Yeah.
You went into labor naturally, though. You didn't have to be induced or anything, right?
Correct. And I did.
So nice.
Yeah. No epidural. 30 hours of labor. 3.5 hours of pushing. Ta-da, baby. But then my placenta didn't come out, so that was a whole nother adventure. And then
Oh, that's never good.
What's that?
That's never good.
No, and it has to be like manually removed, and then there's potential for infection if any of it is left inside, and I lost...
And these are the things you're never told, you know? No one tells you that your placenta, like, until you're pregnant, like, why isn't this in a health class? Like,
right.
Because you don't just have birth, you birth a child, and then you have to get rid of your placenta.
You birth that next. Yeah, which mine just, like, wouldn't budge. So they're like, gonna go take care of that? Do you want to take a nap? I was like, yes I do. I birthed a baby. Nap sounds great, thanks.
Gosh, that's fortunate that you came out of that okay, because that's not something you talk about, is that birthing a placenta is super important, because the placenta will kill the mom. Like, let's be very brutal here. And the worst case scenario is that if too much excrement is left in there, it can kill you.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that it grows a human but could kill the host.
Yeah, it's the other parasite that's not your baby. Yeah.
It's not symbiotic. That placenta is not symbiotic.
It's not you in my, like, it's not doing you any favors once that baby's out. So I did not eat my placenta. We did not keep it because it was a butchered shit show when it came out. You don't want to see that. Don't Google it.
Those studies are inconclusive anyway, that placenta actually helps, but some people really think that the nutrients are super helpful, and
you know it did its job when it was inside. It fed my baby and kept him alive, and now you're done. Get out.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Bye, Felicia.
Totally. So
is there any... Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, nothing more.
Is there any advice you wish you would have gotten?
I feel like that advice is going to be more helpful when Miles is a little bit older, and like you need a little bit more psychological tactics in your back pocket for how to handle certain situations. You know, at like 16 months old, he's like kind of learning how to become demanding and raise his voice and like clearly try to get his way in whatever way he can. I wish that somebody, you know, maybe around age 2 would just fill me in on all the best things that you do to handle all the circumstances that come up. But like also what happens when they like
do.
start dating and driving and, you know, way down the road. And also like society today is so different than when we were growing up. Like all the technology and the immediate access to absolutely everything is relatively horrifying to me. We're not big TV watchers, and like, yeah, we're on a computer all day because we're working, but otherwise we don't spend much time on any technology at all. So maybe we can save his soul to some extent.
A little bit. Just to your point, and it's strictly like an awareness factor. So in where I am in Florida, there's so much development going on, right? And so even though Declan's slated for one school, there's a huge possibility that when he comes to high school, if he's going to a public school, he'll go to a different one than, you know, that he's designated for now. And that's the funny thing. So you sitting there saying like, it's so different than when we were kids. It's so true. And by the time our boys are of a certain age, it's going to be way different than it is now.
Yeah.
And you can't plan for that, I think. And it's a trial by error kind of thing. Like, we don't know what to expect. Technology is progressing in certain ways. It's magnified and grown exponentially over the course of our lives. You know, like I remember when Facebook was just for university students.
Right.
Like, had to have an edu email address, and now it connects billions of people across the world.
I've never given it to the boomers. Big mistake. Biggest mistake ever. No,
Mark Zuckerberg, you have failed.
Could have done better without Facebook.
Oh my God, my grandparents. So it's just interesting to think about. You're like trying to plan and have like all the things, and you're like, well, I can't even plan because I don't even know what life's gonna look
right.
like.
I know. I'm like imagining like, is he even gonna learn how to drive a manual car? Like in 15 years from now, do you get to drive a stick shift? I hope so. We're gonna keep one around just in case.
My biggest thing
how much is gas gonna cost?
Will they learn how to like write their name? Will penmanship and cursive be a thing in schools? I don't know. I don't know. Like, is everything, especially with this virtual push in the pandemic, is our life going to change? You know, like to the point where I don't know. Like I think I like to liken it like, you know, back in the Egyptian era, there's all those like hieroglyphics, you know, and all their houses and the caves or the tombs, you know, where the pharaohs were buried. And so now we had like put all those pictures together to create, you know, the sentence they were trying to say. And then we created language, and we have all these different languages. And now we're back to emojis on our phone.
Yeah.
So we've gone full circle, right? Like that's where we are. Like we're back to emojis on the phone. To, like,
I mean, I have to admit, my Bitmoji does sometimes express things better than I do. You gotta give them some credit. They're pretty good.
Well, I think they're also really good at neutralizing things when you don't know what to say. Or like self-censoring, because sometimes I'll just be like, thumbs up when I really mean fuck you.
Very fair. Totally.
So I guess that works in my favor. All right. Final question. What unsolicited advice would you like to give anybody listening?
Well, if you're listening to this podcast, you might very much enjoy another one that I found really helped me during pregnancy specifically. I haven't listened to it since the day I gave birth, but the Birth Hour podcast, I feel like it really opened up my eyes to the fact that even if you read a million books, you will never know how a birth actually goes unless you like watch videos or physically witness one. But this podcast is like women just straight up telling their birth stories. And so like knowing like I never came across the whole placenta thing anywhere. And I listened to like at least 100 of these podcasts, but I feel like the whole process of the birth and what could happen next and what happens if you do this, that was really helpful to me. It also kind of just gave me more motivation in addition to the insight. So that was great. Otherwise, I think you should really just try to talk more openly to your friends or family or a select individual about the entire process. Like, stop making it taboo to tell people before 12 weeks that you're pregnant. I told everyone immediately in the case that it didn't work out, and I wanted my support base to be there for me. And although it sucks to tell people good news and then potentially tell them horrible news, at least you have a support and you don't have to go through it 100% on your own. And even just talking about like the gross or taboo parts, this is all like pregnancy related because I feel like that was like the most impactful part, but just being able to talk about the gross things that happened or just any part of it really, you know, and just feeling like you're not alone really was quite helpful.
I think sometimes people forget how alienating it can be, because when you're pregnant, you can't do half the things you could do before. Like literally in an instant, you can't drink alcohol, you can't have a certain amount of coffee, you can't eat certain foods, you can't lift certain things, you just can't, right?
Yeah. And then you immediately feel exhausted or nauseous or just weird and whacked out in general. And you know your whole life has completely changed. But it's like all of these crazy emotions and hormones and like all like, and everybody experiences something different. And every single day of it can be different. You know, it's just a wild roller coaster. It's crazy.
I don't know about your first trimester, but I think I ate nothing but saltines and chicken broth for like 8 weeks straight.
I was on the saltine train. I had some like really fierce morning sickness. That word, they need to come up with a new term because that is baloney. Like it's not morning. I woke up at 2 a.m. and was puking my brains out for 8 hours. It's like having the stomach flu. It was awful. So luckily there's things for that. And I did eat my fair share of saltines, but I don't know why. Like I was pregnant. I found out on Christmas. So my first trimester was in the winter. Here in Denver, it gets awfully cold in January, February, March, but all I could stomach were cold foods. Like I only wanted cold cereal and gazpacho and salsa and like cantaloupe that was refrigerated. Like, I don't know. It was very odd. And then in the summer, July, when I was like about to burst, I was just eating pho every day. Like, I don't know why. There it is. Yeah, the body is mind-blowing. I mean, I guess it's telling you what it wants, but why? Like, there seemed to be I was freezing for 3 months.
and literally eating cold foods, that's amazing. Yeah. I had one craving. My husband is so lucky. All I had, like, one time, and he didn't have his license at the time, so I had to drive myself to the store to get chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, man.
Motherfucker. He went in and bought them, but I had to drive us there. So I couldn't even, like, I didn't have any weird cravings or anything. I just ate a lot of toast with, like, cream cheese and tomatoes. Basically, like a deconstructed pizza is, like, what I wanted every day with some, and sometimes with avocados. But never like a pho or a cantaloupe or like a hot or
the one.
Give me the carbs.
Yeah, I feel like the aversions were even weirder because I would be like, oh my God, a hard-boiled egg sounds fucking amazing. That's what I'm going to make right now. We have to like wait for it to cool down. And then by the time I got around to it, I was like, I'm going to vomit. Just look at it. This is the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life.
You're not the first person to tell me that. I did not experience that, but I can imagine.
But like your heart and your soul is like, I need this. And then it gets in front of your face and you're like, so mind-blowing.
Oh, the irony of life. Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we are so happy that you got to join us today to talk about your experience and about this role that you were so sure about, but I think you're killing it. I'm pretty sure it's you.
It's not been like 2 years.
Like 18 years, and we can reassess, right? That's how I feel. Talk to me when he graduates high school and goes to college or whatever he's doing.
Then you're like retired and you're free. I already have plans. We already have plans. We're going on a bike tour across all of Europe, and I can't wait.
You're supposed to do that before you had a baby.
What?
Miles, this is what you did. You ruined all the fun. all the
We're
fun.
going to buy another van, so we'll see. More fun will be had with the baby. That's the other thing, is you like don't have to cancel your whole life just because you had a child. You just have to reconfigure it and get creative.
Yeah.
So now we have to buy a van that can fit
100%.
3 people and sleep 3 people. So we're going to do that hopefully soon.
I think you can do that. I mean, I won't join you. I'll stay in the hotel down the street, but
Yeah.
Is that Grant or Phil?
Yeah. The baby lost the
Both
truck
of 'em?
keys. We might have eaten
Here's another perk of parenthood
Gave
is
them.
there's always somebody to blame.
Oh, yeah.
And it's usually the tiny person.
It's definitely him. I've been finding things in the garbage that I definitely didn't put in there. And all of the toilet paper has been unraveled. So it's definitely him. Gotta love him.
Okay, funny tidbit. So Dominic bought these ear pods, like these brand new earbuds for work that like sync to his laptop, sync to his phone. And Declan likes to play with them because they're on his level. And he plugs them in, unplugs them, all this stuff. So they go missing for like 4 days. And Dom's like, this kid, I swear, Brie, this kid. And I was like, I think you just lost him because you're an asshole. And he goes, no, this kid. So Dom asked Declan, where are my earbuds? Have you seen them? And he goes, they're in my blue airplane, Daddy. And we're like, okay, where's the blue airplane? Like, you don't have a blue airplane. He has a blue airplane wheelie thing for travel. So after 4 days, we're like, oh, there's a blue airplane. There's a blue airplane.
He wasn't lying.
Damn blue air. And those earbuds were in there.
That
He packed them
really
very
funny.
nicely. And they were safe, but he didn't lie to us. He knew exactly where they were.
Yep. They're funny like that.
It's beautiful.
I have one more bit of unsolicited advice if you're...
Oh, yes. Do share.
Can I?
Totally.
Sorry.
Do you think they went with him, right on his neck, or did you take him off his neck and put him somewhere?
Oh, maybe they're in my pocket. There you go. Yeah! Well, Mom gets 1 point.
Oh, I did that to Dom the other day too. He's like, where are the keys? And I'm like, I don't know. They're on the counter. I did exactly what you
What
just said.
keys?
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Whew. All right. One last bit. Kind of on the topic of you like having something and then him putting it somewhere. Miles can't tell me where things are, but he's been reorganizing a lot of things. So he like took his sippy cup of milk and he had it up in his room and he was like playing with all the things and milk disappears. 3 days later, I'm like, God, where the heck is that sippy cup? Totally forgot where it had been last. I'm like looking through the cars, looking over. I'm like, there is going to be like rotten, stinky milk somewhere in my life. I do not want to deal with this. It was just like up in his basket of Legos, just like covered, like he had totally like buried it in there, like a dog would bury a bone, but like in his Legos. Why? I'm like, thank God it wasn't super hot out because that would have been real fun.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
That would have been gnarly.
He's an interesting one. You will never find, like, and he put the remote under the oven the other day. Like, I'm never going to find anything ever again is what's happening.
And what's going to happen is you're going to think you lost your mind.
Yeah, and then you find it in your pocket.
And on that note, we really appreciate your insight and your story and your voice. Because every mama has a unique perspective, so thank you for sharing yours. If you want to follow us, it's at mama_knows_nada, because we are the mom that knows nada, or I am the mom who knows nada, at mamaknowsnada.com. If you want to check us out, that's where you can find us. But until next time, just keep laughing at yourself and all the things you didn't know you needed to know.
Thanks, Bree. That was fun.